Welcome to Artwork, and thanks for joining us. We're just opening up the webinar to everybody, and we will give everyone a few moments to log on, and then we'll look at starting as close to 6 o'clock as we can. So for those of you that are already tuning in, if you wouldn't mind in the chat introducing yourselves and letting us know what your artistic practice is. And when you are in the chat, if you just want to make sure that the 2 is to the panelists and the attendees so that everyone can see. So we have Cassandra, Eric, Jerry, Kendra, Lorraine. Hello, everyone. I think we had about 17 registered for today. We have Lorraine. Hi, Lorraine. Thanks for joining us. So in case Darcy and Tara can't see in the chat, Cassandra is a painter and she does some sculpture. Lorraine is a mixed media artist. Eric is a cartoonist. Kendra is an industrial artist. Aloha. Kendra, are you tuning in from somewhere other than Lethbridge? Somewhere warmer than Lethbridge, maybe? Fort Saskatchewan, welcome. How did you hear about our sessions, Kendra, if you wouldn't mind sharing? And Jerry is a painter, muralist, and she does body art. Welcome, Jerry. So we are at 6 o'clock. I would like to maybe just wait one more minute. So we have about half of our registrants in attendance. So Kendra, you, this is your first session that you've attended, and oh, but you attended the last session about selling your artwork. That's great. So this is our 6th session that we've done in this format. Welcome, Sheila. Hello, Rachel. If you didn't hear in the beginning, we're just asking folks to just chime into the chat box and make sure the 2 is to the panelists and the attendees. And just introduce yourself and let us know what your artistic practice is. Darcy and Tara are able to see that as well. And it just maybe helps provide us with a little bit of information. And yes, Kendra, all of our sessions are on YouTube right now, and I can talk a little bit about that once we get into today's session. All right, well, I think we're going to get started at 6:01. Thank you so much for everyone joining us this evening. Today is October 1st. Happy October. This session today is Submit Preparing Exhibition Proposals with Darcy Logan, our curator over at the gallery at Casa. My name is Dawn Leidy, and I'm the Community Relations Manager with the Allied Arts Council, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Just so everyone is aware, we are recording today's session and we will be sharing it with those who registered in a direct link through email tomorrow, but we'll also be posting it to our YouTube channel. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are streaming our session from Lethbridge and that we are situated on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains. And we pay respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. And that the city of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So as I mentioned earlier, this is our 6th session of artwork that we've been delivering on Zoom since April, actually I think since May. Thank you so much for those of you who have been tuning in. I think we have a few folks who've attended every single session. We sincerely appreciate the continued support from not only you as the artist, but also our arts community. And it's nice to see that these sessions are reaching out further abroad into our province. So thank you, Kendra, for coming in from Fort Saskatchewan. I think we have some folks from elsewhere as well. As I did mention, this session is being recorded. All of the sessions that we've delivered through Zoom are available on the AAC Less YouTube channel. And I can put the link into the chat box once we get going. So you can go back and take a look. We've had sessions on how to take photographs of your artwork, social media marketing, how to set up an online store, number of other sessions. So this is our 6th one. Take a look at those. They're there. You can use those resources as you need. So just a little bit of an agenda. I think we've done most of our housekeeping. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A pod or the chat box, and I will try to make sure that we get to everybody's questions throughout the presentation and following. Thank you everyone who have already introduced themselves. Tara is going to talk a little bit about the Allied Arts Council and what it is that we do within our community. She will then introduce Darcy, and Darcy will continue on with our presentation. We'll go through a Q&A. If there seems to be a question that is pertinent to a particular comment that Darcy is making, I'll find an opportunity to ask that question. If it looks like it's a question that would be beneficial near the end for the whole group, then I'll just wait for those. But again, if you want to use the Q&A pod and the chat box to put your questions in, I can help manage that. And then we would be having our closing. So I'm going to turn it over to Tara now to talk a little bit about the Allied Arts Council.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tara Galanders, and I'm the Projects and Membership Manager for the Allied Arts Council. So let me just tell you a bit about us. We are a 62-year-old, I think 62 this year, Dawn, art service organization. We manage a large community arts center in downtown Lethbridge called Casa, where we have an extensive arts education and gallery program. We also run a fine arts and crafts store located in downtown Lethbridge as well at 318 7th Street. Come visit us, please. We try to put on a lot of events and provide opportunities for artists. We realize that art is work, and we're looking for ways that you can be paid for your work because we believe and value the work that you do. We are a member-based organization. We are always looking for new members. We have several membership levels. Artist membership is $25 a year. We'd really appreciate if you'd consider becoming a member. You get lots of great information, opportunities to take part in PD sessions, and as well a bi-weekly newsletter which tells you about all the great paid artist opportunities that are available to you in Southern Alberta. So please consider becoming a member. It's important that we show our funders that we have support with the community, and I think yeah, we'd appreciate that. You can find out a bit more about that I think at the end of the session, but my email is projects@artslethbridge.org. So you can shoot me an email and I'd be glad to send you a membership form. So now I would like to introduce to you Darcy Logan. Darcy has worked in the not-for-profit public arts administration since 1998, both professionally and as a volunteer. He is currently the curator and gallery service manager with the Allied Arts Council of Lethbridge, where he oversees the gallery at Casa. Previously, he has worked at the Bowman Art Center and the Prairie Art Gallery, as well as contract work at the Center for Creative Arts the Alberta Foundation for the Arts, and the Grand Prairie Regional College Department of Art. Darcy has sat on an extensive number of art committees and juries in both participatory and advisory roles, as well as being an episodic and ongoing volunteer for many organizations. He is also a practicing artist with a diverse studio practice and exhibition record, having received his BFA from the University of Lethbridge. So now I introduce to you Darcy Logan, who's going to tell us some wonderful and very useful information. Go ahead, Darcy.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody. There's some familiar names I see on there, and glad to see some familiar faces, and hi to some of the people that I haven't had a chance to meet yet. I'm going to share a little bit of information about preparing packages for submissions for galleries. I hopefully will have some insightful things that comes from both my professional experience and my practice as an artist. In my professional career, I've sat on a lot of adjudication committees and juries for various organizations and branches of government. I've also, as an artist, generated them and sent them out to all sorts of galleries as well, successfully and unsuccessfully. So I think I will just jump right into preparing packages for submission, a brief primer. And I think this is going to be geared mostly for the not-for-profit public art gallery arena. If you're submitting packages for commercial galleries, that would be another arena that I'm not super familiar with, just passingly familiar with. And I'm just gonna hopefully give you a few tips and tricks and techniques that will just help you as you're navigating and negotiating this this process. So there's basically five. I've used a little image of an envelope. Most submissions now are done online and digitally. Some still like hard copies, but that's just a little signifier of putting a package together. The first thing you do when you put together a submission package is generate a cover letter that briefly introduces you and articulates your interest in having an exhibition of your work at whatever center or facility that you're sending it out to. The second thing you need is a proposal, which outlines what exactly you would like to exhibit. Sometimes it can be work that you've already finished and are looking to travel or tour, or it can be a proposal for a body of work that you're still currently developing. For example, I would like to exhibit a series of 15 photographs that document the change of the seasons, or I would like to complete a series of large format portraits that feature community leaders along with a written component that tells their stories. So your proposal is a cogent and clear way to immediately articulate to the people, whether that's a curator, whether that's a jury of your peers. It lets them know exactly what you want to do when you're working with them. The third thing you need is an artist statement. And an artist statement should clearly articulate what you do and why you do it. It explains what your work and your artistic practice is about and what inspires you. And I would always caution you to keep it simple, avoid cliches, don't be pedantic or pontificate to people, and avoid as much florid language as you can. The fourth thing that you put in a standard proposal package is images and accompanying works. And finally, a CV, a curriculum vitae, or a biography is a living your professional practice. And as your practice matures and your career matures, so does that document. And the first thing I'm going to say, and I could probably stop right here, but I will go into a little more depth. Read the call for submissions that you're applying for carefully. So what's going to follow is not a formula that you can just plop things into, but rather a template and something that if you get it together, you can then modify it for different places that you are going to subsequently submit to. Because all galleries are slightly different and idiosyncratic in how they want the information put together and what exactly they're looking for. But that general template that I gave you initially is fairly standard best practices amongst public art galleries. So the first thing, your cover letter. And as I'd said, a cover letter briefly introduces yourself and articulates your interest in having an exhibition of your work. You refer to why and what you're applying for, whether that's a thematic group show, a project, or a solo exhibition, and it lists what you have attached in that package. So it could run something like, my name is Darcy Logan and I'm a painter from Lethbridge, Alberta. I'm applying for the thematic group show on landscapes. You'll find enclosed in this package things, images. So sometimes if there's a jury happening or an adjudication process, you can have 100 applications and maybe there's space for 5 that can be successful. So you'd really like those out and know right away, have a sense of how you'd like to work with them. Second is your project proposal. And that outlines the work you're wanting to share, whether that's a completed body of work or a work in progress like I'd mentioned previously. And in that, you want to give as much detail as you can. You would like to share what the materials are, like the media of the art, whether it's an installation, video, 2-dimensional art, 3-dimensional art. Plan to have them installed, whether you need to suspend them or whether there needs to be modifications to the walls, how big they are, and simply how you envision being in the space. And when you're going through that process of applying, when you see a call for submission, most galleries either have a floor plan of their gallery available online, or just with an email, they'll provide that to you. Be as open and flexible as you can with the curator. Don't need to be rigid. Be open to saying that maybe we can edit back the number that of works that I had originally proposed, or open to discussions of alternative methods of display. I think that willingness to work with a facility or an individual is beneficial to the artist in the long run. And that comes from both my professional practice as a curator, as well as being an artist that's worked with other galleries. And if at all possible, invite the curator or the jury video visit if they're close by. Sometimes talking in situ in your production space, you can really maybe be a bit clear about what your vision is. And generally, if your submission has been successfully happen regardless, but it's at the very least, if they come and you're not successful, you can get some really good constructive criticism, feedback, and critique. Invaluable as you progress in your career as an artist. And the artist statement, the all-important artist statement. Your artist statement should clearly articulate what you do and why you do it. It explains what practice is about, and as I said before, keep it simple, avoid cliches, being pedantic, and using florid language. Your artist statement, like in the absence of you being there, it should answer why you make the work, why people should care about the work you make, why you think it's important to be shown in the place that you're applying for. All not there to answer it, so that artist statement should answer it. That's why it exists. And quite often, good artist statements that I've read and ones that I'm I've written myself that I feel have been successful, have been a way for me to sort all those ideas that you have in your head. They really necessarily felt this impulse to create this body of work and had this research ideas that have informed it. But writing it out, answering those questions is useful, not just for the individual that's getting that submission package, it's also really useful and beneficial. It's important in your statement to introduce the material aspect, so what your work is made from, whether they're paintings or sculptures. Discuss the conceptual framework, where you get your ideas from, what research has informed practice, what ideas have inspired you, and then conclude by discussing how those two things relate, why you felt the need to take the idea that you're interested in and put it into that form, whatever that artistic media is. Avoid obfuscation, which is making things inaccessible. Avoid jargon, and most importantly, avoid buzzwords if you can. And jargon, artists work with a specialized language, so obviously sometimes we will need to use technical language to communicate our ideas, but clear communication is absolutely key. So I have maybe 3 little that could be part of an artist statement on thing, but I'll ask you to think communicated via. I investigate locomotion, text, and visual data construction and reconstruction within the creative laboratory of the studio. More florid, alone your long breeze of the sensation of the city enveloping me. Flushed with excitement and inspiration, I return to the studio where I let my spirit soar and brush dance. And people can write this way, but your artist statement is supposed to be clearer. And in the final line, I'm interested in exploring my community as a pedestrian and capturing photographs that I later translate into large acrylic paintings. So all of these things are saying the same thing, only one way communicates clearly. I've been on many juries where really pedantic artist statements have come in where people are name dropping art ideas that have currency in contemporary discourse, not even necessarily applying it to their practice, but putting it in there because they feel like they've got to flood their artist statements with this kind of jargon and these buzzwords. Sometimes those get immediately because there's no way that you can get to the root of what they're even trying to communicate clearly. Even if you come from an academic background and academic writing is what you're interested in, for your artist statement, and maybe it's different for a curatorial statement when the show is up, but when you're sending that proposal package out, be as clear and straight to the point as you possibly can. You don't want to have people mistake what you're trying to communicate, misread it, misunderstand it. And as I said, you also need a list of works and accompanying images. A selection of representative images and a corresponding list with title, date, size, media, and any other pertinent information. Choose your strongest work and try to keep the images thematically cohesive. And it's absolutely integral that you have good quality images of your work, properly lit. It's not enough to just take a cell phone picture. We had a previous presentation by Angeline Simon that went over good ways to document your work, because you want it to translate in terms of colors, textures, or installation shots of previous shows. You want that to be very apparent to the people that are looking at and adjudicating your submission package. and then provide any other support document that you may need or that may be asked for, whether that's video documentation or web documentation. And curriculum vitae, which is, as I said, a living archive of your artistic practice. For the love of God, put your contact information on your CV. I can't tell you how many times it's happened that I've received a submission package via email. That email goes inactive, whether it was maybe attached to a job that they're no longer at, or an educational institution that they're no longer at, and I have no way to actually contact those people. And that has actually happened with people who have successfully applied for shows, and I can't actually get a hold of them. So make sure you put your contact. If you're an emerging artist, don't have a lot of shows, list as much as you can on there, and you will begin to edit that back as you gain experience. So if you've only ever had your first show in a gallery at a coffee house, by all means, put that on. And then as your career matures, you will start kind of taking stuff off the bottom. As I said, it's a living document that charts the trajectory of your practice. And number one, don't make it look like you've had more shows or engaged in more opportunities than you have, because I'm not going to lie, it's always very, very transparent. And if a person's disingenuous, it lacks professionalism, and if a person isn't professional, you don't want to work with them. So in conclusion, adjudicating artwork fundamentally is a process of elimination. So if I have 5 exhibition slots and I got 100 submission packages, which has happened and easily happens, you have to start getting rid of some of those. And the easiest one to do is to disregard any that have been incomplete, improperly prepared, didn't follow the basic instructions that were listed in the call for submissions. And that's regardless of the quality of the work. And I've had complete and just well-known artists. I've had them from academics, people that should really know better. So it's always put the strongest, best, read the call for submissions, and make sure you have a checklist that hits all the criteria that they've asked for when you're putting that package together. Because sometimes a very professional and well put together submission, that artist might have ostensibly a weaker body of work, but if they demonstrate that degree of professionalism, that's because the relationship between a curator and an artist is a contract and relationship you enter into, and there's a work together that happens. So you always want to deal with someone that's professional. Have someone edit your documents for style and mistakes. Even me, just recently, I sent out a proposal package, hurriedly submitted on the last day that the call was open. I would always encourage people to submit early. And then when I reread it after I'd sent it, I realized that I'd had some punctuation mistakes and a spelling mistake in there. So shame on me. And just try to articulate yourself as clearly as you can, concisely, cogently, and professionally as you can. Treat it as if you're applying for a job. You're sending out your resume, because that's really exactly what you're doing. And it's those are the main elements. And like I say, even if you get this all together and the gallery you're applying for maybe wants it slightly different, you have that template that exists. Yeah. Is there a question?
Yeah, there is. Tara was just wondering if you wanted to talk a little bit about some of your upcoming deadlines for
Sure.
the gallery program.
Right. So here at Casa, we are a forum for different types of art, contemporary art as well as traditional art. We have our main gallery here, which is a formal fee-paying exhibition space, as well as a series of auxiliary galleries around the building for community artists to share what they do. And we, in November, the window is open just during that month. We don't accept proposals the other time of the year and at them because it just becomes unmanageable. So we also have a mandate of what we want to show. So during the end of that November, I can go through and look at all those submission packages and build an exhibition year that is usually a year and a half to 2 years out from when the submission was open. So if you apply, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
So if you apply in 2020, your exhibition would most likely be in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have we put out the call yet, or when do you put the call out? That would be the end of October, right?
End of October, beginning of November. Obviously, the world we're living in is a bit in flux right now, so we're just looking at exactly how that's going to look and if it's going to be the same as all the years previous to this. But it'll be up on the Casa website the beginning of November.
Excellent. And for those folks, I'll put it in the chat. It is casalethbridge.ca. We have a question from Eric Dick. He is asking, when cutting back one CV, how many years back would curators or jurors want to see? How old is a show before it's too old and time to go?
So for my practice myself, I keep a master living CV that has absolutely everything in it. But when I'm applying for shows, I will have selected exhibitions, and they'll usually go back 10 years, maybe older if it was a really important exhibition. Yeah. But if your CV is small, by all means, go back. There's artists that have CVs that go on for 8 or 9 pages, so try to just keep it to a page or 2. That'd be my best advice.
So we have another question. If you are a new artist, would a body of completed work submitted be considered for exhibition, or is previous exhibition experience required to be considered? And I'm assuming that would be specifically for the gallery at Casa programming.
No, there's been many artists that I've shown here and that have had tremendous exhibitions and great personal success and community accolades that had never had an exhibition before. I can tell one anecdote of an individual that phoned me up and said, would you be able, I'm a self-taught artist, would you be able to look at my work? I've never shown it to anybody before. And I said, by all means, come down to Casa and we can do a little bit of a critique. And the paintings were just so absolutely amazing. I can't even begin to tell. He painted with toothpicks these elaborate geometrical, mystical, large canvases. And so his work he hadn't even developed the body work. He'd done a few paintings, and then we talked about a show. And then other artists that have completed a thematically cohesive body work that haven't shown it before. Yeah, open to all of those sorts of providing opportunities for them.
Excellent, that's great. And so I think I heard there too that if folks do have questions about the process, they could be reaching out to you for clarity. Is that what I heard you say that as well?
Yeah, by all means, that's part of my job, is to give advice and input into these sorts of processes, even if you're not developing a package specifically for CASA or the Allied Arts Council. part of what I do is to give that kind of advice and oversight to artists. Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. Eric has a follow-up question about how can folks plan around applying to grants? Most gallery timelines are well outside of grant timelines.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So how can folks plan around applying to grants? Most gallery timelines are well outside of those grant timelines. So
well, I hear what you're saying. If you're proposing work that hasn't been completed yet, and that's been, so if you have a body of work you'd like to develop, you want a grant for and a place to show it, probably your first step is to send an application to a gallery. That way you can get a confirmation letter and then apply for your, I'm assuming your project grant. Because a lot of these government bodies, when they're adjudicating submissions from artists for grants, they like to have confirmation that this work will be shown somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always stress that it's not integral or important to have the work completed. So you can send, when you're doing a package, examples of past work, and your proposal talks about maybe the new work that you're going to complete. And then there's all sorts of other grants. If you are successful, you've got a show, and then you've got your project grant. There's also, in that 1.5 to 2 year window, you can apply for travel grants if the gallery is outside of your community, and there's other options as well. I don't know, did that answer your question, Eric?
Let's see if Eric puts anything in the chat box. Yes, he says yes, thanks. We don't have any more questions in the queue, and I didn't see any questions come through the chat box. So there was a question from Jerry. Yes, the Angeline session that was in August, I believe it was, on photographing artwork. There is a recorded copy on the AAC YouTube channel, and I have shared that link in the chat box as well. What I'll do is tomorrow, once this recording has been finalized and edited and compressed, I'll send an email to all the registrants who participate or who registered for tonight. You'll get a copy, a direct link to this recording, but I'll also include a link to our AAC YouTube channel, and you can go back and take a look at the previous 5 months of sessions. She set YouTube to run through the sessions at 1.25 speed, so you can maybe get through them a little bit quicker. And those slides would be included in the recording as well. I don't see any other questions. Oh, Darcy? Yeah, go ahead.
Just in conclusion, that if you're an artist, I would highly recommend that you apply for as many opportunities as you can, whether they're for solo exhibitions, group exhibitions, special projects. There's places like the website Akimbo that lists different exhibition opportunities, because you're not always going to be successful. Trust you me from even just a personal experience. But the more that you put out there, the greater the probability that you are going to have your proposal package be successful. And it has nothing to do with the quality of your work when these adjudication processes have other considerations that go on. The mandate of the gallery, the variety and the breadth of what they want to show. So if they had 50 submissions for paintings and their mandate is to show a broad cross-section of artistic practice, those 50 people might be in stronger contention. So number one, don't take it personally if your submission isn't successful. And number two, send them out there. Number 3, never pay to send it. If a place is asking you money to submit, don't do it because it's not legit.
And that's really great advice. I don't think I see any other questions. Thanks, Darcy. I'm going to take the screen share, or did you want to stop sharing your screen and I'll switch back to our slides and then hand it back over to Tara. Who can share? Oh, no, I need to do this one. Excellent. We did some questions, so Tara, take it away.
So just to let everybody know, we really appreciate you participating in our in our professional development series. It's been really successful through this very challenging time for all artists. Any one of us are available to answer your questions. If you are considering becoming a member, email, or if you have any other questions about opportunities and projects that are upcoming, please feel free to get in touch with any one of us. Our email address is projects, and Darcy's email is gallery@artslethbridge.org, and Dawn's email is communityrelations@artslethbridge.org. She's got the longest email in the organization. So please consider becoming a member. We are working on possibly getting together a commercial art professional development series, so a commercial art gallery director who would be able to answer some of your Q&As coming up. So look forward to that series. We are going to find somebody to do that, and I think it would be interesting as well from a commercial perspective. So thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you, Darcy, for all the great information. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Darcy. So just as a reminder to folks, our next artwork session would be on the first Thursday of November. So that would be November 5th. We will advertise on social media and direct email to those who've registered the topic and the presenter. As always, these are free, but if you are so inclined and would like to make a donation, we'd be happy to receive that to help with our programming. And you can do that at artslethbridge.org, and you can learn more about membership at artslethbridge.org. Again, there is the contact information for Tara and Darcy. And I think with that, we are wrapped up. I'm just checking the chat box and the Q&A. I don't see anything. So aloha. Good night, everyone. See you next month.
Good night.